So, have those Philadelphia Eagles been exposed? Was last night a bad game or a bad sign for the Miami Dolphins? And which six of our 10 teams in our league have made the playoffs this year? Well, we're going to see if we can answer those questions and many more as we get you ready for week 15 in the NFL and in fantasy football. I know some of you are already starting the playoffs. Some of you will be starting very soon, but we're going to get you all caught up, get you the information you need right here on Fantasy Football Fever, which starts right about now. And hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Fantasy Football Fever. It is Tuesday night, December 12th, 2023. Great to have you with us, however you're watching, wherever you're watching, whenever you're watching. Thanks for making this part of your week. Of course, I am Tim McClelland, your favorite armchair football fan, here in my lovely lazy boy here, as usual, with my beautiful cowboy flag displayed on top. And of course, joining me, my two good buddies, Mr. John Flynn, the host of John Sports, and Mr. John Natale, our league commissioner. Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing very good.
I'm doing good, everybody. I think it is one of the most fun times of the year. Not just because it's the holidays and all of that, but I mean we have something really cool in mind for for this podcast, because it's the first week of fantasy
playoffs. Don't talk about it. Playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs?
Yeah, well, we get to talk about it now.
Yes, that is true. We have made our way into our fantasy playoffs. And I know a lot of you fantasy players out there are about to be starting your playoffs this week. If not this week, maybe next week. Just depends on how you're playing and whatever website you're playing on. We still got some information that could be useful to you. So while we do that, it looks like Flynn has just put up the display for our recap of the final week of our regular fantasy season. And we're starting with his matchup against Alex Putnam, which basically was a game of pride because Flynn's in and Pizzle's out. But Pizzle now takes his season record to 12-2. He, of course, already wrapped up the number one seed in our entire league. Last week, he defeated Pizzle by a score of 154.96 to 112.44. On Flynn's side, he had great numbers from Russell Wilson with 19.46. 17-2 from Travis Etienne Jr. from the Jaguars. James Cook from those Buffalo Bills, 25.1 points. Not really an impressive showing from the Cheetah, Tyreek Hill. He only got 10.1 points.
He did get injured earlier, to be fair.
He did get injured, but we'll have to keep checking on the injury. He did come back late in the game.
Yeah, and he had like a couple of big receptions that would help to give the Dolphins a 2-score game, which obviously they blew. We'll get to that in the hot topic segment coming up.
19.5 points from Michael Pittman Jr. Travis Kelce 14-3. 10 points from his Bengals kicker, Evan McPherson, 17 points from the Brown defense special teams. Ernest Jones with 12 points. Devontae Smith, 10.3. Over on Pizzle's side, his starters, only got 3.64 points from a C.J. Stroud. Very dismal right there.
I mean, he was my sit of the week at the quarterback. That was the easy first guess.
But didn't he get injured during the game?
I mean, I didn't track that, but it was pretty. He only threw for like 91 yards.
Yeah, did get 21.5 points from Rashad White. Got let's see some other numbers. Seems like the rest of his team kind of underachieved a little bit there.
I mean, that was the story of his season. I think you look at Jalen Waddle as someone he was really keen on. Keenan Allen was in and out for much of the season. And that's been the story of his life with in terms of fantasy. So
I'm looking down at the bench areas right now. Pizzle, he left 28 points from Zeke Elliott on the table. And
I mean, no one thought Zeke Elliott was going to go off the way he did against Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah.
Probably the only really great game he's had all season long. In that 21-18 win over the Steelers.
Yeah.
And he left behind 17.2 points from Jahmyr Gibbs and 16.1 points from one of his favorite quarterbacks, Minshew Mania, Gardner Minshew, in the 34-14 loss to the Bengals in that particular matchup there. So basically, it was just a game of pride. Really, nothing really to play for in this particular matchup.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence. Not only did he play, he actually played pretty well. So he 23.38 points. He left. I left on the bench, but I wasn't going to take a chance with him because they're going up against the Browns.
Yeah, Browns. That Browns defense is looking pretty good here lately. So I could probably see the reason why you wanted to sit Lawrence right there. And a respectable 12.2 points from Jake Ferguson, helping the Cowboys to that 33-13 win over the Chickens on Sunday night.
I started Jake Ferguson in my other league.
So that's how that matchup went.
And this was the other matchup that was based solely on pride because David was already out and Tim had already wrapped up his division in the first round bye.
Yeah, I thought Jalen Hurts would kind of really stay in it, but I mean that Cowboys defense was just way too much for him. Not only for him, but for all of his receivers. Namely A.J. Brown, who is pretty much covered all the way by Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah.
I love that matchup.
Yeah, the Cowboys secondary did a great job jamming out Philadelphia's receivers and making Jalen Hurts not make the throws he wanted to make.
I did get a good 23 points from Miami's Raheem Mostert. I got 16-4 from A.J. Brown. Sam Laporta, who's been on my roster for quite some time, kind of underachieved, and the Lions lost to the Bears 28-13. Of course, I did not. I don't think anybody really saw that coming. Decided to put Devon Achane in my lineup again. Underachieved a little bit, but 12.1 points. I'll take it.
So I mean, you got Achane and Mostert, the dynamic duo of Dolphins running backs.
Yeah, so they've been pretty good for Miami this year. Fred Warner got 10 even. I was kind of torn between starting Micah Parsons or Fred Warner. I'm like, well, 49ers pretty much have a slightly better defense than the Cowboys, as we all saw back in week 5. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, but also given that you're going to get more points from linebackers because every tackle is 1 point, and you're more likely to get a tackle from a linebacker rather than as a defensive lineman, which Micah Parsons is. His points are going to be reliant upon. You're going to have to rely on him sacking the quarterback to get points from, which is not hard or not easy to do.
Right. Got 15-2 from Cortland Sutton. Looking down at my bench, the only glaring one was just 13 points from the Eagles defense special teams with the turnover. I think it was a turnover for a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it was a fumble recovery for a touchdown. I thought.
Yeah, which was the only real bright spot for those chickens on Sunday night. And I left Jordan Love left me just 10.92 points when he was projected to go 20.4.
Yeah, he was terrible last night. We'll get to that game in a little bit. Oh, in the hot topics. But meanwhile, for David, just the story of his season, we get to set his lineup, and what do you do? Aaron Jones didn't play. Deshaun Watson's out. The Commanders' defense was off. Oh, he did get 33.5 points from Evan Engram. So the second most fantasy points of a tight end has scored in any single game this season was Evan Engram. Mind you, against the Cleveland Browns team that has given up 10 points or more to combined tight ends just once this year. That was the hardest matchup of the entire week for any tight end, and Evan Engram just dominated.
And look at David's bench. The glaring spot right there was Breece Hall, leaving 26.6 points on the bench right there.
Yeah, you think someone like Andrew or Casey could have used Breece Hall this season, or Alvin Kamara?
Mm-hmm.
I would think so. I would think so.
Yeah, and then he left 13 on the bench for Juju Smith-Schuster, and now we get to the point where things got interesting in terms of the implications.
Yes, we do. We had Natale going up against Casey, and Natale got a good victory, 174.52 to 111.02. Very impressive from Justin Fields, 26.72 points against Detroit. And Justin Fields is I don't know what to make of him. I mean, some days he's very, very good. Some days he's very, very bad.
I mean, a couple of things to know. The Lions have a lot of problems on defense, and Detroit's ceiling is going to be limited in the postseason because they don't have the dudes on defense. Maybe they'll get something out of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who is supposed to be coming back in a couple of weeks, but we'll see how much of a difference that makes. And also, Justin Fields is playing for a job. I mean, because I think he's playing like he has no interest in not playing next year, because there's going to be a team out there that's going to want to pursue Justin Fields. So it's going to be important for him to keep playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got 17.3 from Christian McCaffrey, 20.8 from Bijan Robinson in a losing effort to the Buccaneers. I mean, Bijan Robinson from Texas got a very impressive 25.4 points from D Hop in the game last night against Miami.
I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is like the receiver that just won't go away, and it makes me pissed off because I was blasting Natale for his DeAndre Hopkins takes this offseason. Yet he's still finding a way to play at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the biggest bright spot for Natale was Deebo Samuel with a big 34 points. And Zay Flowers, this kid that I love in Baltimore, he got 20 points right there. Got 14 points from the Dolphins defense and special teams. Meanwhile, on the bench, not really that much. Just the highest bench player was Jerome Ford at 13.2. Other than that, no, not much to say about the bench players. Meanwhile, on Casey's side of the board, got 25.42 points from Brock Purdy, 22 points from Austin Eckler, 11.6 from Cole Kmet. Not much else from the rest of his starters, but as far as his bench players, only real big line here was Amari Cooper leaving 12.7 points on the shelf right there. So that's basically how that matchup went. Then we had Lucas against Andrew. Lucas took this one 148.14 to 122.2.
Yeah, and this turned out to be a case where the winner of this matchup made the playoffs while the loser went home, and Lucas got MVP performances from Lamar Jackson and Isaiah Likely, who were terrific, and I looked like an idiot because I dropped Isaiah Likely in my other league because I picked up Darren Waller as my backup tight end there.
Yeah, I got 18.1 points from Javonte Williams, 14 from Puka Nacua, and 14 from Zaire Franklin. Down on his bench side, Deontay Pittman from his Steelers, 14.7, and Jared Goff really underachieved 8.44. Meanwhile, on Andrew's side of the board, only really bright spot for Andrew was Saquon Barkley with his 23.1 points. Got Brandon Ayuk at 17.6, Chris Olave at 12.8. Kyron Williams, who I think you said should be a starter, he was at 14.3.
Which is a little low for him because he's projected 22 points in this week. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of it. Now, Kyron Williams does have a favorable matchup. We'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah, we'll get to that here. Got 13 points from the 49ers defense special teams. Meanwhile, down in his bench, he had Josh Allen on his bench, and even though the Bills won that one, and Josh Allen got him 22.52. Otherwise, he got Giants at 13, and Chuba Hubbard, who is quietly becoming a pretty decent running back for the Panthers, at 11.6.
Yeah, he's now the number one running back for the Panthers, and that now makes the decision by Scott Fitterer to sign Miles Sanders to that long-term contract even more puzzling than it already was.
And then the last matchup, we had Adam Oliver against the man Dino. And Adam took this one 167.04 to 114.84. Big stars for Adam, of course. Dak Prescott, 21.94. Joe Mixon, 21.5. Great effort by DJ Moore, getting 26.8. Garrett Wilson from the Jets at 20.1.
Yeah, Chigozie Mokonku had a nice game, 9.6.
And Tyler Lockett from the Seahawks getting 14.9 fantasy points. Cowboys special teams got a respectable 16 points. And what can you say about Brandon Aubrey? 30 field goal attempts, 30 field goals made, including the history-making day he had Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
First kicker in history to score 2 field goals from 59 yards or further. He made a 60-yarder, then he made a 59-yarder. I'm telling you, this kid, Brandon Aubrey, he is like a gold mine right now that the Cowboys really need to hold on to. And I think we're
Yeah, and
looking at some numbers.
would you look at that? He's the number 1 kicker in fantasy football.
Number 1 kicker, Brandon Aubrey. If you do not have him on your roster, shame on you.
Yeah, he's
Because
gonna be he's gonna be first team All Pro at the kicker position at the end of the season.
oh yeah, he'll make first team All Pro kicker. No doubt about it. I mean, he has done more than Brad Maher or Greg Zerline combined. I mean, this kid is a gold mine. It makes me think the only possible way. Now he could miss. There might be a chance he may miss a field goal because of the matchup in Buffalo, and a lot of people in Buffalo or following the Bills know that there's a good wind there, especially at this time of year. But it seems like beside the wind, the only other way that Brandon Aubrey could miss a field goal would be like this.
Yep.
Other than that, I don't know this guy's awesome, and I wish him all the best in the future. 30 for 30. Let's go 31, 32. Let's just keep going here.
Having one of these Cowboys in fantasy has been amazing this year, because you're thinking about Dak, you're thinking about Aubrey, you're thinking about the Cowboys defense, you're also thinking about CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson. It's been so fun to watch for the Dallas Cowboys this year.
Yes, it has. Looking down at Adam's bench, only real spot for him was Patrick Mahomes getting 16.64 fantasy points. The only dim spot for him, but other than that, worked out pretty well. Meanwhile, over on Dino's side of the board, he was going to start Justin Herbert against the Broncos, but you never really see an injury coming, do you?
It's happened so much in this league this year. And now Justin Herbert's going to have season-ending surgery to repair a fractured finger, which is not, which ends this season. So Beavis is going to look to replace him, but it looks like he's got a pretty good backup with Jake Browning.
Yeah, he'll be all right. Yeah, Jake Browning, which of course will be filling in for Joe Burrow here. The only real good spot for Dino in this matchup was getting 25.5 points from Cooper Kupp, despite losing to the Ravens on Sunday. And he got 16.6 from George Kittle, 12-7 from Jarrett McKinnon, 18-1 from Devin Hendry in that win over the Dolphins. And looking down at his bench, well, he had Jake Browning on the bench, and it left him 27.7 on the shelf, as well as 20.5 from Jalen Reed, and a nice 28.1 points from David Njoku, the tight end for Cleveland right there.
Yeah, David Njoku and Evan Engram each had 2 touchdown passes in that game. 2 touchdown receptions, right?
2 touchdown receptions in the win. 31-27 was the score in that particular game. So
now.
So with that being said, What are we going to do now? Yeah, let's
These are
go
the final
to
standings in our league.
the final regular season standings. And as we said, Flynn pretty much locked up number 1. I locked up number 2. Natale's at 3. Adam's at 4. Lucas 5. Dino 6. Casey 7. And Andrew 8. Alex at 9. And David at 10.
Yeah, you could look at the.
Yeah, look at points 4. Flynn took the advantage on that one here. Points against. Flynn got that one again.
Yeah. Or think of it the other way, Tim, because you had some difficult matchups this year, yet you found a way.
Yeah, I had to find a way to get the right numbers and the right players in there. So I guess I did pretty good here. So I guess we can take a look at our playoff brackets.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how our playoffs are going to be. The top 6 teams go on to the playoffs. Flynn has the bye as well as I. He's got number 1 seed. I got the number 2 seed locked up. Let's go ahead and take a look at this matchup between Lucas and Adam. Lucas at number 5 seed. Adam at the number 4 seed.
See, and before you do that, the 7th seed you can see down here on the consolation ladder is Casey against Andrew. Both teams had a shot to make the playoffs going into last week, but they both lost and they both got knocked down. And then, of course, Pizzle and David.
Yeah. So those 4 teams are in the consolation ladder. Meanwhile, we'll take a look at these matchups here. Right now, in the first round, it's going to be Lucas against Adam. And we have a very close projection right now as we speak. Lucas with a slight advantage, 138.8 to 136.4.
Yeah, look at how evenly matched everything is. I know Lucas has a lot of checkpoints, but 24, 26, 16, 16, 13, rounded up to 13, 15, 15, 16, 16, 9.5, 9.5, 14, 12, 11, 11, 10, 10, 9, 9. Woo.
Yeah, so those numbers pretty much tell more than these check marks I see over here. So hopefully the guys, let's see who they got on their bench right now.
Yeah, and both of these teams were 7-7 as well. So you factor that in too.
Right. So we got Patrick Mahomes projected at 20.5 for Adam. So this ought to be a pretty interesting matchup here. And it seems like the winner of that one will most likely face
they'll play me.
Face Flynn in the second round.
Yes,
and
so I'm going to be very interested to see who wins that matchup. Not only because I'm facing the winner of that, but because it's so evenly matched.
Right. And then we have Dino going up against Natale. The winner of that match will go up against me in the second round. Natale right now has a projected total of 155.1 to 132.4 for Dino. And look at these.
Yep.
Right now. So Natale pretty much had a 22.7 point advantage there. Looks like some really big numbers on his side of the board. Some moderate to kind of below average numbers for Dino. And look
I
at
mean,
there.
and with Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, and Bijan Robinson, and as resurgent DeAndre Hopkins and TJ Hawkinson, that's going to be a tough draw for Dino.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's gonna be really, really tough right there. Uh, don't really see much as far as the bench players go for either side here. I heard Gus Edwards is pretty much a guy you might want to start. Might
Yeah,
start
and
him.
also, and another, and Beavis has 3 empty bench slots, so he can claim a couple of guys off waivers right now. Wouldn't have to worry about dropping anybody.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So the winner of that matchup will take on myself in the second round. Going to the bottom. Going to the bottom
Consolation
here.
ladder.
Yes, the consolation ladder. We're going to have Andrew going up against Casey. Yeah, looking at that one.
Yeah, Kyron Williams single-handedly giving Andrew and the edge early on. Also helps with Saquon Barkley because he. I mean, imagine what Andrew could have been like if he got in and he had Kyron Williams going and Saquon Barkley going and a favorable matchup against the Giants this weekend and the 49ers defense and Jake Moody going up against the Cardinals. That could have been an interesting matchup if he wound up getting in, but it turns out it's not, and as a result, we will have a new champion in our league because he was our defending champ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was. He did look pretty dangerous. You can see right there in the previous matchups there. Casey won both his matchups with Andrew during the regular season. So
yeah, and week 9 was only a 9-point margin, so that could have kept might have been the one that kept Andrew out.
that's right. So Casey's got the 9-point advantage. And take a look at the next matchup in the constellation division. David versus Alex, and Alex won their first matchup back in week 8. And right now, Alex has a 18.1 point advantage. Looks like Stroud, Pollard, White, Aiden Hutchinson, and Texans defense, special teams. David's got some good players with Jefferson, Lamb, Engram, and St. Brown. And so looks like Pizzle may get this one unless David can pull off some kind of miracle and win this matchup, even though they're really not playing for much of anything, just maybe for pride.
Yeah, and what is it? At one point, David was 3 and I think it was 3-3 at one point, and then he lost 8 in a row to end the season.
Yeah. We keep telling the guy, pay attention to the waiver wires, pay attention to the injury reports. So that's basically how the first round of our playoffs is going to start. That's how it's going to be this weekend. So with that, I think we got. Oh yes, we do have a question from George Play 01. Who should I pick non-PPR league? Ty Chandler, Ty J. Spears, Zamir White, or Chase Brown?
Ty Chandler. So that's because Alexander Madison is probably not playing on Saturday against in the Vikings Bengals game, so Ty Chandler is going to be the starting running back.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree on that one.
Okay. Well, there you go, George. Our advice is to go ahead and start Chandler. Madison is going to be doubtful, I guess, may not play. So go ahead, hook up Chandler into your lineups. And for those of you, if Chandler's available, might want to pick him up. So with that being said, we have some topics around the NFL that we want to cover right now. First off, well, yeah. Well, what do you know? He's got it all planned out for us. The crazy Monday night game. It was a very interesting week this past weekend. Very, very interesting indeed. Tommy DeVito leads the Giants over the Packers. The Titans, the Titans, uh, beat the Dolphins. Cowboys blow out the Eagles. Bills beat the Chiefs. I have a little issue with that. In my honest opinion, the Bills did not beat the Chiefs. It was actually Kadarius Toney that beat the Chiefs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it was amazing that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid had the audacity to call out the refs and bitch to the refs about saying that was a terrible call. Yeah, if you see on the replay, it clearly was called for a neutral zone infraction. Now, to be fair here, what the official could have done, which he didn't, he could have gone either way, was blow the whistle dead and call a neutral zone infraction against the offense. And every neutral zone infraction I have ever heard of was called against the defense, or if it's encroachment on the defense. So it's pretty wild to think about here for on that regard.
Yeah, I hate to say that, but I think both Reed and Mahomes were slightly out of line with their comments. But
yeah, and because of that, they're probably going to get fined by the National Football League, or as some like to call it with these fines, the No Fun League.
Right.
Yeah, but
I think as Vince McMahon once put it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I do want to talk a little bit about really about the games that I was really into, the four games you see at the top here, because we talked about the Bills beating the Chiefs. Now now the Bills have won. I thought they looked really good. I thought the defense played really well throughout that game. Credit them for making the stops that they need to, and now the Bills are going to be on a mission on Sunday, and is that the Bills need and have a perfect opportunity to do that, and that's to show the league so that they can beat anybody in any style of fight, and go out there and play at a high level against anybody.
Yeah, the Bills have a really, really big matchup this Sunday because they got one of the three best defenses in the league coming into town.
Yeah, and they got one of the five best offense, the hottest offense in the National Football League coming in the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep. So that'll be interesting. Let's bring the tally back in here. Let's talk about how the Giants were able to beat the Packers with this Tommy DeVito. I mean, this kid comes out of nowhere and pretty much beats the Giants. And I know you two guys, since you both are Giants fans, you two had to be totally elated about that.
Oh yeah, that was a pretty crazy game. I was wrong about the Giants winning this game, but yeah, somehow I had a feeling they were going to at least cover the spread, and they did.
So yeah, you got that one because the reason why you went 6-8 against the spread, I went 6-8 against the spread, while Tim went 4-10. We'll get to the picks and we'll get to the picks in a little bit. But but did you notice something different, Natalie, about the offensive line?
Oh yeah, they were blocking for him very well. Yeah, I don't believe he was sacked once.
Yeah, first time since the playoff clincher last season against the Colts, where the Giants conceded where they didn't concede a sack, because so they had given up at least 2 sacks in each of their first 12 games this season, but not this one. Wait, which I was a little surprised about, because the reason why I picked the Packers to win and cover against the Giants, because I didn't like the matchup between the Packers defensive line, which I really liked the Packers defense, which was built which Brian Gutekunst built. But of course, Gutekunst will always be remembered for the one that traded up and drafted Jordan Love and traded Aaron Rodgers and torpedoed the whole thing. But you figure Tommy DeVito rookie would come back down to earth a little bit, which I thought. I was ready to make it take today. Say that it was a nice little story. Now back to reality. Giants need a franchise quarterback. Now we still think the Giants need a franchise quarterback because eventually the league is going to figure out who Tommy DeVito really is, and if he's not brought back down to earth against the Saints, probably might be against Philadelphia on Christmas Day. But But the thing is that the offensive line was great. The Tommy DeVito was tough and clutch. He other than a couple of wide throws in the first half, he made every single big throw. And this is what I said after the game. And I don't know if I put it in our group chat or not, but for the first 57 minutes of that game, Tommy DeVito was 2022 Daniel Jones, and for the last minute 30, he was 2011 Eli Manning.
Oh yeah, definitely, fantastic comparison.
Yeah,
and I think he was the first quarterback, I believe they said, since Phil Simms to open 3-0 when starting.
Yeah, remember Daniel Jones started 2-0 in his career. Remember that?
Yeah.
So that was pretty awesome, right there.
Yeah, don't look now. One game out of a playoff spot. But the only thing is there's a crunch. A bunch of teams have 6 wins, so that's the only problem right now.
Yeah, but most definitely.
But the Giants do have one of them next. One of the 6 and 7 teams they are playing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's also last night we also had another Monday night shocker when the Titans were able to come back and beat the Miami Dolphins in a game, which I did not see that game going the way it did. I definitely didn't see it the way it ended.
Somehow I got the spread on that too.
Yeah, you did cover that. Good,
yeah,
Charlie, for picking the right underdogs.
Why? So.
Yeah, I think I just barely got it, I believe. Just barely.
So would you say this was like a slight hiccup or maybe something bigger from Miami?
I'm personally leaning towards a hiccup.
It's about also here is the thing though, because we talked about much of the discussion all year about the Dolphins has been can they the talent a team that's their match in terms of talent or more than that, and if you lost against Buffalo, you have the loss on the road against Philadelphia, you have the loss in Germany against the Chiefs, a game where the Chiefs did not play well, and then you lose at home to the Titans. Now, granted, I've been banging the drum on Will Levis for the better part of a year now. I loved him coming out of college. I thought he would be some. If the Giants didn't have the year they did last year, it would have been at the bottom. I would have loved Will Levis being coached up by Brian Daboll, but Will Levis can play. Will Levis can absolutely be a star quarterback in this league, and he showed it last night. He was tough and clutch. He took advantage Miami's miscues, and he was able to go head to head with an offense that featured Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane.
Mm-hmm. So talking about the AFC playoff picture, the NFC playoff picture, especially the NFC playoff picture, because now it looks like the San Francisco 49ers have just taken the top seed in that conference.
Uh-huh.
I think
Yeah,
they have.
and yeah. Yeah. Let's pull it up right now. And
there it is. There's the old playoff machine.
Sure enough. Yes.
So right now we have the Niners sitting at the top of the conference and the number 1 seed. Right now, my Cowboys are at number 2. We got Detroit at 3, Tampa 4, Philly at 5.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in first place in the NFC South. Never would I uttered that. I mean, no. we were talking last year. We were talking throughout the summer as Tampa Bay being one of the teams that would be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. And now they can make the playoffs in the worst division in the NFL.
Jeez,
Yikes.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and you got 3 teams, 6 and 7, and one of the, and not only that, they're not only are they in play in the division, they're in play for the wild card because the Packers, with that loss against the Giants, instead of tying Minnesota for the 6th spot in the NFC, they're now down to 7. And you look at the teams that are 6 and 7. You got Green Bay, 6 and 7, Tampa, Atlanta, New Orleans. Then you got the Rams, who even though they lost in overtime, looked really good. And then Seattle, who I thought played. I thought I saw some things I liked from Seattle the last 2 weeks, even though they lost. Albeit the team is much more talented to them than Dallas and San Francisco. Seattle can make a run of things. Because they have a struggling Eagles team coming in on Monday night, and then they have a defunct Pittsburgh team. They have a defunct Arizona team the last 2 weeks of the season. So
yeah,
and also
the AFC side, I see Baltimore at the number 1 seed. Then you got Miami down to 2, Kansas City at 3, Jacksonville 4, Cleveland 5, Pittsburgh number 6, Indianapolis at number 7, and earlier this year, it seemed like we all thought that the top seed would be Buffalo. And what the hell has happened there?
But I mean, Buffalo's been playing much better than they did about a month ago, which coincide with the Ken Dorsey firing. Now, now Joe Brady has done an unbelievable job with the play calling.
So that's basically how the playoff picture looks right now.
And I mean, also take a look at this, because you got Kansas City 8, Jacksonville with 8, Cleveland at 8, and then you have Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Houston, Denver, Buffalo, all at 7 and 6. So that means for the last 5 playoff spots in the AFC, 9 teams are separated by 1 game.
Whew. That is a huge cluster of teams right there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. My oh my. And
cluster, and that'd probably give me a headache trying to figure that out.
Yeah, and had Miami beaten Tennessee like they were supposed to, Miami would have been the 1 seed in the AFC entering Week 15.
Uh-huh.
But also one thing to note: Miami and Baltimore do play each other Week 17 at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. Ooh, that's good. Assuming those 2 hold serve next couple of weeks, that's going to be a monster game that might pretty much decide who will be the 1 seed in the AFC.
Just might be. It just might be. I may have to mark that game down on my calendar as as must see TV right there.
Yeah.
So that's basically how the playoffs go right now, anyway.
Yeah.
So now we mentioned during our fantasy recaps that there were some players, some very good fantasy players who have kind of been underperforming in the last few weeks here.
Yeah. And I mean this is more specifically at last week because there are many players that had that needed to rely on players to make the playoffs in their leagues, but these were the ones we came up with. I mean, Evan Engram we talked about, David Njoku we talked about, Jake Browning who is now going to be like a man's best friend for Dino because Dino lost Justin Herbert due to the finger injury, and now he has to start a new quarterback. And Jake Browning, who has been terrific the last 2 weeks and has scored 20 more than 20 points each of his last 2 weeks against teams that are in the conversation to make the playoffs. That's something. And then of course Lamar Jackson. I mean, my goodness.
Wow, Lamar Jackson, 316, 3 touchdowns, and 70 rushing yards, 32.7 fantasy points. Yeah, Lamar Jackson has really gone beyond my expectations this year. I will say that. Then we got to look at the other side of the coin from this past week. We got some names like Hurts, C.J. Stroud, Josh Jacobs, and Kenneth Walker, all kind of underperforming this past week.
So, although Josh Jacobs did leave his game early against Minnesota because of a knee issue, and he is currently listed as questionable for their game on Thursday night against the Chargers. So that means if he can't go, Amir Abdullah is someone you're picking up.
Amir Abdullah. I think the last time I heard that name, I think he was with the Panthers.
Yeah, I remember he came up with the Lions.
Yep.
With the Lions, okay. So, and Kenneth Walker with only 4 receptions for a total of 54 yards, only 9.4 fantasy points. C.J. Stroud looked pretty lethargic. And, of course, Jalen Hurts going up against that awesome Cowboys defense. Yeah, they definitely put a hurt on him.
Yeah.
So now speaking of the Cowboys, seems like everyone is saying that Dak Prescott is the front runner for MVP. I just want to get your guys' opinion before I give you mine.
I would say, maybe. I would say certainly top 3. But I think the other 2 people that could stay in his way are Brock Purdy and Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I mean, if Tyreek Hill gets to 2,000, he's definitely going to get some first place votes. Because remember the way you can now vote for 5 this now, because up until last year you can only vote for 1. So Tyreek Hill is going to be a name that's going to be on ballot, especially if he can get to 2,000. Now, yes, last night he only had 61 yards of receiving, so that bumps him up from 1481 to 1542, I believe. So if we do the math here, if we do the math here, if he is 458 yards away from 2,000, and he's going to need 114.5 receiving yards on average to.
And one other thing probably to keep in mind is, say hypothetically, by the time week 18 comes, Dolphins have nothing to play for. Would they still start Tyreek Hill?
I don't know. I think Mike McDaniel has been more progressive when it comes to player relations. So I feel like McDaniel might be someone that'll let him play.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, here's my take. Dak Prescott is playing lights out pretty much for this better part of the season. I think the only way that I can really declare Prescott as an MVP is if he goes to Buffalo, takes down those Bills, then he goes to Miami and takes down those Dolphins, and then they go back home to AT&T Stadium on the 30th and beat the Dolphins in that Saturday night game.
Yeah, I think they're playing Detroit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Lions. The Lions are playing the Lions on the 30th. If they can go 3-0 against those teams, I would definitely say Prescott is MVP because the Week 18 game is pretty much on the road against the Commanders, and the Commanders are pretty much, yeah. So that's my take on Prescott as MVP. So. Dashy, I had to manage without my regulars, Zach and Johnster, because they're too busy. Bengals haven't lost at home to the Vikings since '92.
Yeah, and I remember the last time the Vikings and the Saints met, the Vikings and the Bengals met. It was a classic game that went down to the end. Week 1, where McPherson kicked a game-winning field goal in his NFL debut.
I have to, the '92 game. I'll have to look that one up. I probably got it somewhere on YouTube, but good to see you, Dashy. Good to see you, buddy. Hope to see you tomorrow night. So with that, we did have startups and situms.
Yeah, but first we're gonna do a tough trivia question, but it's not Tim's tough trivia tonight. I came up with the trivia question tonight. So,
ooh,
yes.
Okay. So here's the question. So we talked about Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey also, by the way, is in the conversation for league MVP as well because he's been so dominant at the rushing attack. So Christian McCaffrey over the last 5 weeks has the most rushing yards in the NFL with 525 yards rushing. So the question is, in that time frame, who is number 2?
Oh, in the last 5 weeks.
So you talk about active. You talk about active players for this season, or just like overall?
This season over the last 5 weeks, weeks 10 through 14.
Oh, okay.
In the last
Who's number
5 weeks, who's number 2 behind McCaffrey?
I think I have an idea, but I'll say it later.
Okay, but before we do that, we have another trivia question. Not a trivia question. We have a fantasy question.
Trade away Sam Laporta, Jalen Waddle, and Kyron Chandler from McBride and Saquon. I say hell no.
No, I would definitely not do that.
You're basically
Well,
giving.
It depends on who's receiving who.
Yeah, you're basically giving away a wide receiver.
Yeah. I'm assuming that the writer is receiving McBride and Saquon, and in that case, I would say definitely not.
Yeah.
But if you're the one that's receiving Laporta, then I would say yes.
Yeah. So maybe perhaps what he's thinking that he's maybe sacrificing a wide receiver to get a much better upgrade of running back, a running back who's getting 25 touches a game, which leads the NFL in Saquon Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think here's the thing. I think if you feel confident about the rest of your wide receivers, I think that's a trade you could definitely entertain. But I mean, I don't know who should have problems with wide receiver depth, because you can get a lot of quality wide receivers this year.
So, no, Laporta has been a very consistently good tight end for the Lions. Jalen Waddle is a really good number 2 wide receiver behind Tyreek Hill. And Chandler has done very well for the Rams. If it was me, if I gave a definite answer, I would say do not do a darn thing. Hold on to Laporta, hold on to Chandler, hold on to Waddle. That's just me. So thanks for your question.
Yeah, so
and, thanks for watching. So that's basically
yeah. So we
yeah, I'm still thinking.
that
I know we still
that
got
that
a show to do, but I'm still kind of thinking about who right now would have the second most rushing yards in the last 5 weeks. That is a very, very, very darn good question. And so you want to do start Sims now, or?
I said but we will do that. But we are going to announce to you guys that that Natalie and I are going to be the guest pickers for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems tomorrow
Yes, play
night.
that promo. Play that promo.
Yeah,
Play the
yeah.
promo.
So while you guys are thinking of that, and that before we do starters and sit-ems, so we're gonna have a special word from the guys at Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Here we go.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pistol 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby!
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube.
Alrighty,
That's right,
with that.
That's right, folks. If there's ever a time to watch the Four Horsemen show, it's got to be tomorrow, because not only are we going to have Alex and Lucas and myself, but I'm going to have these two guys joining me tomorrow. So we're going to have I think it's going to be. I'm already thinking this is going to be one of the best shows of the year.
I mean, the show we did last year. I mean, where I guess pick was pretty good too.
Yeah, they did. And Natale, if I'm not mistaken, you'll be making your first appearance.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's going to be awesome. Four Horsemen Pick'ems tomorrow night, 10 Eastern, 9 Central, on April's 90 channel. I didn't mean to step over my boundaries, but it's time to do stars and sit-ems. Flynn, it's all you now.
Alrighty, so we are gonna start now, and since we're pressed a little bit of time, I'm gonna briefly give you my starts and sit-ems. So my starting quarterback is Russell Wilson. The Broncos going up against the Lions. The Lions defense has been shaky for the better part of a month, and Russell Wilson has been playing really well lately. So Russell Wilson is my guy to start. At the quarterback position, starting running back of the week is DeAndre Swift of the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the Seattle Seahawks, and I think. Well, hopefully what the Eagles took away from the loss against the Cowboys is that they have to do a better job running the football, and DeAndre Swift is a physical power back, and the Seahawks have given up a lot of points to running backs all year. So DeAndre Swift is my starting running back for the week. My starting wide receiver for the week is Terry McLaurin of the Washington Commanders going up against the Rams. The Commanders coming off a bye week, and Terry McLaurin, his last time out against Miami, 0 receptions. So I think it's going to be a point made in practice this week to get Terry McLaurin the football. I think he's going to have 10 catches. I think he's going to have 100 yards receiving. I think he's going to have a touchdown for Washington. My starting tight end is Isaiah Likely for the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Jaguars. Likely coming off a 19-point performance last week against the Rams. I think that continues. He's got a good matchup. I think Lamar Jackson is going to rely upon him for plays up the middle of the field, so I'm going to go with him. My starting defense / special teams is the Falcons defense / special teams. I mean, the Falcons going up against Bryce Young and the worst offense, one of the worst looking offense in the NFL right now, in the Carolina Panthers. My starting kicker, Evan McPherson, for the Cincinnati Bengals against the Vikings, and as our friend David as our friend Dashy notes in the comments, the 1992 was the last time the Vikings beat the Bengals. The last time we met the Vikings was 2021 when we beat them, and Evan McPherson was tough and clutch that game. And of course, he mentions that Nick Mullins is starting up against the Bengals, and so I think it's going to be a tight, contested game. I think field goals are going to make the difference in the end. So I'll take Evan McPherson as my starting kicker. My sit of the week, I don't want to admit this because he's my starter. Because he's my quarterback in the other league, make it in the playoffs. Because I have to play the first round this weekend in my other leagues. And Tua Tagovailoa is my quarterback. Gardner Minshew is my backup, which is not particularly great. I hope and pray it's a good game against the Jets, but I don't see that going. Tua Tagovailoa against the Jets is my sit of the week at the quarterback position. Running back sit of the week, James Conner of the Arizona Cardinals. And look, the Cardinals coming off a bye week, but that San Francisco matchup looks really bad. My wide receiver sit of the week is Adam Thielen of the Carolina Panthers going up against the Falcons. I think Thielen going up against that Falcons secondary, and Bryce Young having trouble getting the football to him, I think it's going to be a problem. My city tight end last week was Pat Freiermuth, and I think I hit that one. So I'm gonna keep him. I would keep him on your bench because Pat Freiermuth is my sitting tight end of the week. This week for the Steelers going up against the Colts. My defense / special teams sit of the week is the Eagles defense / special teams. I mean, the Eagles have a lot of problems, and I'm inspired by the way Seattle played offensively against tough defenses the last couple of weeks. And my starting kicker, the kicker I'm going to my kicker sit of the week is going to be Eddie Pinheiro of the Carolina Panthers.
Very, very interesting list right there. So for you guys that are in the playoffs in your league, or maybe going into the playoffs, maybe in the next week or so, take that advice right there. So hopefully you'll do well in your playoffs. Now it's time to, we're actually bringing back something we haven't had in quite a while.
Do we have starters and sitters from the tally though?
Yeah, the funny thing is that we're the same on two of them, one from each category. But we'll get into that one in a second. But yeah, my starting quarterback of the week, Tim's gonna love this one. I have Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. I see this game as a slugfest. This is going to be the most combined point total, I think, of the week. Like, you can expect Dak to get, I would say, at least 3 touchdown passes right there. And my starting running back of the week, this one's going to be a shocker, but if he's healthy and ends up playing, I'm going to give it to Josh Jacobs of the Raiders. And I've given the Chargers the benefit of the doubt a couple times, but yeah, they're just not cutting it here. I expect a good performance from Jacobs here should he play. Otherwise, Amir Abdullah, he's a fine option. And my starting wide receiver of the week is going to be Devonta Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Seahawks defense has been a bit rough lately, but I mean, their offense is getting it together, but they got to work on that defense a little bit. And I'm not going to get into this one that much because this is the one Flynn and I repeated on. My starting tight end of the week is also going to be Isaiah Likely of the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, last week he was Lamar Jackson's favorite target, and I think that's potentially going to continue. If not him, then Zay Flowers. Isaiah Likely is probably a number 2 receiver at worst for this week, making him a fine starter. My starting defense of the week is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, after a loss there, they're going to look to get revenge. And I expect the Chiefs defense to have a monster game against the Patriots. And my starting kicker of the week is going to be Matt Gay of the Indianapolis Colts. After finishing with negative points last week, He's going to look to have a bounce back game. And my sit-em my sit-em quarterback of the week. This is going to definitely be a boring choice, but it's going to be Mac Jones of the Patriots. I mean, they're already out of the playoff picture now, so there's essentially nothing for them to play for. Or you could say Zappy too, for that matter. Just depends on who they start. And my sit-em of the week. This is kind of a slash combo. Depends on who's starting. It's going to be Antonio Gibson or Brian Robinson Jr., depending which one of them starts. I mean, I think the Rams' defense have been okay lately. They're starting to get it together. They're fighting for a playoff spot. So, yeah, that defense is going to step up. My sit-em wide receiver of the week is going to be Marquise Hollywood Brown of the Cardinals. That 49ers defense is just too good. Sitting tight end of the week is going to be Cole Kmet of the Chicago Bears. The Browns defense has been pretty strong to wide receivers and tight ends, so I don't think he's going to get too many catches. And my sit-em defense of the week, not because they've been terrible, but because it's going to be a shootout, I have the Buffalo Bills as my sitting defense of the week. Like I said earlier, this is going to be a very high scoring game, so you're not going to get too many fantasy points from the defense. And this is the other one that Flynn and I repeated on. My sit-em of the week is also going to be Eddie Pinheiro of the Panthers. Yeah, there you go. Those are mine for the week.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you, guys. A little bit more advice for you. So, I guess we can now bring this segment back to us. We're going to the tail of the tape for each of the matchups in the league for this week. Take a look at the starters and their point projections according to ESPN. Yeah, looking at the Chargers and Raiders. That's the Thursday night lineup on the Thursday Night Prime Video game. Got a Easton Stick filled in for Justin Herbert, who, of course, we mentioned is out for the season, and Aiden O'Connell taking the reins for the Raiders here. Looks like the quarterbacks are almost evenly matched. Josh Jacobs with a slight edge over Eckler. Amir Abdullah, you might want to put him in at running back 2.
But if Josh Jacobs can't go, Amir Abdullah's number is going to go way up. But I'll keep him on your bench. But if you have an open spot, pick him up just in case.
Yeah, just in case. And we got almost even numbers from Keenan Allen and Devontae Adams at the wide receiver 1 position. Everett and Mayer for the tight ends, almost even right there. Let's see, Renfro with the slight edge over Johnson. Defense, special teams, almost even with these guys. Chargers, of course, 5th ranked and Raiders 6th ranked. And Cameron Dicker and Daniel Carlson, they're pretty much even there. So that's
yeah, I think ESPN is thinking that the Chargers-Raiders game is going to be a low-scoring game because you have 2 inexperienced quarterbacks in Easton Stick and Aiden O'Connell. But we'll see how that transpires. But these are 2 of the 5 teams that are definitely not making the playoffs in the AFC.
Oh, definitely. Then we go to 3 Saturday matchups. It's a triple header on NFL Network. First at 1 Eastern, it's the Vikings and the Bengals. We've been talking about some of those players and earlier in the show. Nick Mullins, of course, taking the reins for the Vikings, and Jake Browning taking control for the Bengals. I see Mixon with some pretty good projections right there, as well as Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Over on the other side, pretty good projected total for Justin Jefferson and for Jordan Addison. Of course, Ty Chandler getting the start. Alexander Madison will probably most likely not play in this one.
Yeah, we talked about that with the question before about the fantasy about who would pick up in non PPR. We talked about Ty Chandler. We couldn't stress enough as to how much we loved it, and this is why, because of the lack of availability for Alexander Madison.
And of course, Hawkinson definitely has the advantage. Hawkinson, of course, right now the number 2 tight end in fantasy, projected at 14.5.
Yeah, and also just to make a note that TJ Hawkinson's projected to be the second best tight end in fantasy this week. So because these I guess instead of the overall rankings, this is just squarely for week 15.
Just for this week.
Yep.
So
yeah,
so
just to make sure we're on the same page, but
right.
yeah, but I do think that Jake Browning number 14.4. I think that it's going to be more than that. Honestly.
Yeah, going up against Bengals, going up against the 9th ranked defense special teams in fantasy this week. So that should be an interesting matchup. Of course, we got our picks coming up later on.
Yeah, and you got the Vikings at 7-6, the Bengals at 7-6. Both team, the Vikings would be in the playoffs. The Bengals are currently on the outside looking in. So that's going to be a crucial game when it comes to the wild cards.
The second game on the Saturday schedule is the Steelers and the Colts. Look at some numbers right there. And it looks like the quarterback matchup is almost evenly matched.
Yeah, right.
But for some reason, to this day, I mean, I still do not trust Mitchell Trubisky. I did not trust him in Chicago. I do not trust him in Pittsburgh.
So the only time I trusted Mitchell, the only time I trusted Mitchell Trubisky was week 1 again in the Steelers Bengals game last year, where Kenny Pickett needed some learning and needed to watch some of the NFL level game, and Mitchell Trubisky outplayed Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. It's right there. Not much else to say except we got Warren, Harris, Johnson in the double digits, but we got Zach Moss and Michael Pittman Jr. with the slider edge at their positions. Kind of leaning toward that direction, of course. And the third and final Saturday game for NFL Network, it's Broncos and Lions. This will be a very interesting matchup. I'm looking at the quarterbacks right now. This will be I don't want to say this will be the best quarterback matchup of the week. I wouldn't say it's a flashy one, but maybe keep your eyes on. See how Amon-Ra St. Brown does against that Bronco defense, which is ranked 26th this week for fantasy purposes. So he's got 17.5. I could probably see him getting the over a little bit.
I mean, one thing to note, because I know the Broncos projection is a little bit lower on their defense side, but the Broncos defense has been playing much better lately. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos defense gives you more than 4.2 points, maybe 5, 6, 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the downside though is that the game is in a dome. The Lions are home, and they've scored a lot of points at home this season.
Yeah, over there at that Ford Field. So That will be an interesting matchup to watch, especially at the quarterback position. Going on to Sunday. Sunday's schedule starts with a NFC South matchup with the Falcons against the Panthers. Take a look at these numbers here, and Desmond Ridder against Bryce Young. Both of them pretty much at the bottom of the rankings for quarterback positions in fantasy. Bijan Robinson has been doing slightly better, in my opinion, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, though. He's they're really starting to let him get some touches and get the ball going for them. I think the same could be said for Chuba Hubbard for the Panthers. He's kind of quietly been warming up a little bit. And you got some decent backups with Algier and Sanders. Adam Thielen, he's projected at 11.9, but going up against the third-ranked defense in fantasy right now.
Yeah, and that's why Adam Thielen was my sit of the week at wide receiver.
You might want to be very wary. You might not want to get hooked on a Thielen this week.
Ooga chaga, ooga.
Ooga shaka. Yeah. You might not want to get Adam Thielen on your team this week. You might want to keep him on your bench. Kyle Pitts has the advantage at the tight end. And there's your flex options right there. Johnny Smith and DJ Chark. And like I said, Falcons with number 3 defense. Carolina at 16. And Younghoe Koo, one of the best kickers in the league right now. And of course, there's another sit, Eddie Pinheiro.
Yeah, both Natale and I think we both had him as our sit-em kicker of the week.
So that's the tale of that tape. Next week, I have the Bears and the Browns. Justin Fields against Joe Flacco. I mean, Joe Flacco, he's still in the league. Wow.
Yeah, but I do have a feeling that 12.5 number is going to be a little bit higher.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because right now the Bears sit with the number 13 defense, special teams, and fantasy this week, while the Browns are pretty much at number 4. That Browns defense have been, as Natale said, Browns defense has been pretty good for the last few weeks. So,
although they did give up 27 points to the Jaguars last week with a compromised Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, look at that. Jerome Ford and Deontay Foreman. DJ Moore, I've had him on my fantasy team. He has been pretty solid much of the way this season. Amari Cooper projected 12-7. There's Cole Kmet for the Bears. Once again, might not want to start him against the right now the number 4 ranked defense in fantasy right now. Next up, as Chris Berman used to say in the old days, the old Bay of Pigs game. Tampa Bay versus Green Bay. Of course, back when these teams were in the old NFC Central Division, back when I was a youngin'. We got Baker Mayfield against Jordan Love, 2 young quarterbacks who, well, I wouldn't say they're flashy, but they're not trashy. I guess they're kind of in the middle a bit. Jordan Love projected 18-1 to Baker Mayfield's 15-7. Rashad White, 16-1 projection at running back for the Bucks. Evans and Godwin is a pretty good matchup for the Buccaneers with Watson and Reed for the Packers. I don't know. The defenses for this team almost even. Buccaneers ranked 23rd, while the Packers are ranked 21st.
I wonder if the Packers' poor play on defense had anything to do with the adjustment in projections.
Could be, because of course they got a little bit shaken up by the Giants last night. So,
and we definitely need to see what's going on with Christian Watson and Aaron Jones, because I felt like the Packers dearly missed Aaron Jones and Christian Watson, who were both hurt last night.
Yeah, that could be the factor right there.
Yeah,
but matchup.
Yeah, but then again, the Giants were playing their third string quarterback. So what else?
Yeah, it's true.
I think we still have other matchups: K. Dotton and Tucker Kraft.
Tucker Kraft, he might want to eat a lot of macaroni and cheese if he wants to increase that 7-point projection total there. But he might, going up against that 23rd ranked defense in fantasy this week. So moving on, we have going to an AFC East battle, Jets and Dolphins at the beginning of the season. This would have been a great matchup, but of course, the Jets they're, I don't know.
I mean,
every time I pick the Jets to win, they lose. Every time I pick them to lose, they win.
I mean, Zach Wilson looked great last Sunday, which was crazy. 27-36, over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. 30 second half points for the Jets offense.
Yeah, but those numbers on the Dolphins side, that is a stacked roster right there. Having Achane back in the lineup for the Dolphins really helps the running game, along with Raheem Mostert, who has done very well for me in my league.
Yeah,
I think I have in another league too, and he's been doing pretty good there.
It's Tyreek Hill, of course. He's on my team in this league. He's been so good.
So good. And don't forget about Jalen Waddle, who can make some plays himself.
Yeah, but Jalen Waddle needed to show up last night, and Tyreek Hill's brief absence, and very disappointing performance from him.
Yeah, kind of sad to see that happen, but
perhaps the most underrated reason why the Dolphins lost last night.
Yeah, most likely. I guess nothing was really to see from the Jets except for Hall and Wilson.
Yeah,
pretty good projections, but right now that Dolphins.
Did we lose Tim?
No, I think he muted himself by mistake.
Oh, I think. Oh, because they chose to mute himself.
Yeah, I didn't actually mute myself. I was just looking because right now Hall and Wilson have good numbers, but going up against that number 1 defense, special teams, and fantasy this week is going to be kind of a chore for them. So
yeah, and also Greg Zerling has the lowest projected point total of any starting kicker this week, 32nd ranked kicker in fantasy this week.
Wow. So really not much to say on that one. This looks pretty one-sided. Next. Take a look at the Chiefs and the Patriots. Mahomes at 17-4, Pacheco 14-5. I was able to get Pacheco back in my lineup. So, and I was hopefully able to get Rashee Rice off of waivers. So I can put him in my lineup.
Yeah, I have Rashee Rice in my other league, and he's been outstanding.
Oh yeah, he is very, very, very good here.
Yeah, did we have this conversation when we were doing the summer division previews and who we thought was going to be the number 1 wide receiver for the Chiefs? Because we talked about Marquez Valdez-Scantling, we talked about Kadarius Toney, and we even talked about Sky Moore, but it's the rookie Rashee Rice that's been delivering the goods. But I mean, I'm not to say that the Chiefs wide receivers have been great, because that's a big weakness for this team, and that's been a big reason why the Chiefs have lost the last couple of weeks. But It's about Rashee Rice. He might have a future. He might have a solid NFL career ahead of him.
Actually, this may sound crazy. I actually see Sky Moore going to a different team after this season.
Yeah, he's done a terrible job this year, right? And shame on me for drafting Sky Moore.
I mean, it's just weird how these things happen.
Yeah.
So
and then the other side is Ezekiel Elliott, who was the ninth, who was projected as the ninth highest running back in fantasy this week. 15.9, close to 16 points.
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott has been doing a little bit better of their they're going up against, but that 20th. That 8th ranked defense special teams just might be just a little too much. If they can stop, they'll be able to stop Elliott, Hasty, and Devontae Parker and Hunter Henry. And of course, the former Chief, former Steeler, Juju Smith-Schuster. So I think I know where we're probably going to lean toward in that matchup. Let's see the next one, Giants Saints. Of course, you guys are definitely keeping your eyes on this one, especially with that Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, both teams are currently on the outside looking in when it comes to the wild card, because we talked about all the 6 and 7 teams in the NFC. The Giants are a game behind all of them, a game behind in the NFC wild card, which is wild to think about, given how badly the Giants played the first half of the season. The 2-8 start, and now they've won 3 in a row thanks to Tommy Cutlets.
Mm-hmm.
And Tommy DeVito's projected number this week is higher than that of his counterpart Derek Carr, who is making a lot more money.
Making more money, but of course that Q means he's questionable to play in this particular contest.
Yeah, and you also have 2 of the top 5 ranked running backs this week in fantasy going head to head.
Saquon and Alvin. 2 great running backs there. Their defense special teams both in the pretty much the middle of the pack there.
So yeah, the Giants defense was ranked at the bottom and near the bottom for much of the season, but the last 2 weeks, all the turnovers have been piling up, and they've been playing much better. Granted, it's against bad quarterbacks, but nonetheless, you got to give credit where credit's due with Wink Martindale, which was the one thing I didn't discuss when we talked about the Giants earlier. That defense made some big plays, particularly Deontay Banks.
Right. So next matchup we have.
It's we're going to go to the Music City for this one.
Heading to Nashville for AFC South matchup between the Texans and the Titans. Looks like Stroud has the number. Stroud 6th ranked quarterback this week, even though he very underrated and he underperformed last week. Meanwhile, Levis was able to get those Titans that victory over those Dolphins last night.
I think that 14.9 number is going to be a little bit higher.
Maybe I would take the over on that one as well. Maybe Titans are wearing the Oilers throwbacks against the Texans. Hey, that's going to be interesting to see. Gotta love those old Oilers uniforms. God, I miss those Oilers.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like they're pretty much stacked at running back and wide receiver position. Texans with a slightly better defense special team over Titans. And with Kimmy Fairbairn, I think y'all mentioned that he was a sit for the kicker.
I think I think Natale said. Well, what did you say was your starting kicker this week?
No, my starting kicker was Matt Gay.
Okay, Matt Gay is a start. Start him, Matt Gay. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy that we're still talking about Nick Folk as a top 5 kicker in fantasy for a given week?
Wow. Yeah, I was just considering him. I was considering him as my starter of the week.
You know, it seems to me like ages since Nick Folk was the kicker for the Cowboys. think that was back in the late 2000s, I think.
Mm.
And I think I remember him. I think he missed a field goal in 5 straight games that year. That's
Oh my
crazy.
God. Yeah, but other than that, we saw Derrick Henry, ranked number 14th ranked running back. Tyjae Spears, not bad for a running back too, projected at 10 points, not bad.
D Hop with 15-2.
Yeah, that he's going to be a WR2 for a lot of teams this week in the first round of the playoffs, especially if you're in a 12-team league. I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to be your second wide receiver you're going to be starting behind maybe someone like Nico Collins. Now we're going to have to see about the health about Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, and C.J. Stroud. They all have questionable attached to them, but I do think they're going to play. But I wonder aloud what the loss of Tank Dell has done with C.J. Stroud, because it feels like a really big loss.
Yeah, it seems like that has made a huge difference with the Texans kind of going downward last couple of weeks without Dell in the lineup. So what we got next for the matchups? Next we have.
Now we go to the 4 o'clock window.
4 o'clock window with the Niners and the Cardinals. This one is pretty much a mismatch.
Yeah, and I mean, look at Christian McCaffrey's projection. I think that's the most notable.
Very notable indeed, not to mention Brock Purdy's projections. Also with Samuel, with Ayuk, with Kittle. I mean, they have that offense is pretty strong right there.
And 25 points a projected total for Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's probably, and he's been dominating this week, and that's why he's been in the talks for league MVP as well. So
yeah, and I believe Natale, you have both McCaffrey and Debo.
Yeah, I got Debo via trade with Dino. I gave him Kittle. He gave me Debo.
Yeah. Yes.
And so far, I appear to be the winner of the trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Initially, I think the first week Dino was the winner, but then now it ended up being me.
Yeah, and looking over inside, I mean the one position that really sticks out to me, defense, special teams. 49ers with number 11 this week. Cardinals pretty much at the bottom of the barrel. 49ers are just going to be way too much.
Yeah, so, but I mean, because 2 of the top 5, because you got Kittle ranked at 3 and Trey McBride ranked at 5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I feel like it's going to be a lot of garbage time receptions for McBride in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see what happens there. Next, we have the Commanders at the Rams playing over at SoFi Stadium. Sam Howell going up against Matthew Stafford. Very interesting matchup for the quarterbacks right now. There's Kyron Williams right now, ranked number 2 in fantasy this week among the running backs. And the Rams also have a number 2 defense and special teams in fantasy this week.
Yeah, I think ESPN's figuring that Sam Howell is going to play hot potato with the football. I mean, the Commanders have been turning the ball over left and right for the better part of a few weeks now. I think an opportunistic defense. With Aaron Donald going up against that offensive line, which has been atrocious for Washington this year. I think that's what they're looking at.
Yeah, this looks like another mismatch here right now. Even though you see McClelland with 11-9, Curtis Samuel at 11 even, and Brian Robinson Jr. 12-5, even though he is questionable in this particular matchup. Kyron Williams at 22.8. I could probably see maybe a few tenths of points higher, maybe.
Yeah, and I think in a 10 or 12 team league, you might be looking at Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, maybe putting them in your flex, given the season Nacua had, and given that it's lowered the production and targets numbers for Cooper Kupp this year.
Right. This young receiver, Puka Nacua, has been really, really impressive.
Yeah, and how Sean McVay and Les Snead found him, I'll never know. But it's a terrific job by them, and Sean McVay's done an unbelievable coaching job. And if it wasn't any other year, he'd be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. But hey, maybe he'll get some votes for Coach of the Year if the Rams do wind up making the playoffs. But now this is the one. This is the game I'm really interested in with the fantasy for both teams.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Dallas Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills, of course, as many of you know, the only two teams in NFL history to play each other in back-to-back Super Bowls, with, of course, the Cowboys winning both of them. And looking at these numbers right here, I see
a lot of top 10s.
Yeah, a lot of top 10 players. Number one receiver in fantasy, which is number 88 in your playbook, number one in your heart, CeeDee Lamb, projected 22.3. Dak Prescott, 21.9. Tony Pollard, 16.2. I mean, Tony Pollard he hasn't really been getting the yardage that he's been getting over the last couple of years, but he does have his moments where he can bust through some off defensive lines and bust through the linebacker line to get a few extra yards here and there. Looking over at the Bills side, James Cook with 14.6. Latavius Murray 5.2. Stephon Diggs. Oh yeah, I forgot. Well, you got Stephon playing, but of course his brother Trayvon is out for the season, so he's going to be on the sidelines. So this, of course, was going to be billed as the Diggs Bowl, but it looks like that's not going to happen. And of course, number one kicker in fantasy, who else would it be? Mr. Perfect so far, Brandon Aubrey. And Tyler Bass ranked number 8. Josh Allen number 4. Dak Prescott number 2. This is going to be a very good matchup. I can't wait to see. I don't really saw your guys' scores when I was looking at the messages earlier today. It'll be interesting to see what you guys think about this, because I see, I mean, a pretty good score. I mean, it's not going to be like off the charts or anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, because of the way both defenses have been playing. So you got the top units on both sides for both teams.
Ravens and Jaguars have Lamar Jackson, who of course was awesome last week. Trevor Lawrence trying to get back in there. Looking at the numbers here, Jackson 21.7. I could see that. I don't know if I can see that going up. I could probably see that going up. Jaguars defense, special teams is 24th ranked this week. Although the Jaguars do have number 4 ranked tight end in the league in fantasy with Evan Engram.
As coming off, in my opinion, the most impressive tight end performance by anyone any week this season.
Oh yes, and of course this young rookie Zay Flowers, who is just impressing me every single week.
Yeah, he's going to be a flex option in 12-team leagues this week in playoffs. Oh, speaking of, I thought
playoffs. Don't talk about it. Playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I both Natale and I think Isaiah likely is going to score more than 9.9 points, because we both have him as our starting tight end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you got Justin Tucker, Mr. Automatic, as we call him right now. He's ranked 3rd in fantasy among the kickers. So, yeah, I'm kind of leaning toward that one. That's going to be the Sunday night game.
Yeah,
over on NBC.
Yeah, a battle between 2 first-place teams.
Two first place teams in their respective division right now. And of course, the Ravens right now hold the top seed in the entire AFC.
Yeah.
And then we go to the Monday night game.
So you have a bird bowl.
Well, look at what we got here. We got the chickens and we got the buzzards.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Chickens and buzzards.
Chickens and the buzzards. The chickens who look like they've been totally exposed over the last 2 weeks.
Frauds.
And the Seahawks who, even though they've lost a couple of games, I kind of agree with Flynn and Natale. I like the way the Seahawks have been playing. They've not let their opponents totally get away with so many games here. I mean, looking at the numbers, you got Jalen Hurts projected at 22-4. AJ Brown, 18-9. Devontae Smith, 13-3. Dallas Goedert, 9-4. Of course, in this league, I have Hurts and Brown, and I think I've got Goddard on my bench, and I have Laporta as my starter. And looking over at the Seahawks line, Geno Smith at 17-1. Kenneth Walker third, 13-7. DK Metcalf, 16-1. Tyler Lockett, 12-1. Looking at the Eagles. The Eagles have a slightly better defense special teams over the Seahawks. Jake Elliott, number 2 kicker in fantasy this week, going up against Jason Myers, who's ranked number 13. And with the trends that has been going on with these two teams, I got an interesting take on this one, and I know earlier today, my partners here were mentioning that they were seeing this trend too, and that kind of swayed our decision on these picks, which I think is a great segue to go ahead and get to our picks this week.
Alrighty, I'm gonna
But we'll just go ahead and take a look at how we did last week straight up and against the spread. Last week, Flynn did pretty good. 9-6 straight up, 6-8-1 against the spread. Natale went 6-9 with 6-8-1 against the spread, and I went 8-7 straight up with 4-10-1 against the spread. Not quite a good week for me against the spread.
Yes. Yeah, but I had the best week overall.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So far, after 14 weeks of competition, I am the straight up leader at 131-77. Flynn is just one game behind me at 130-78. And Natale is 3 games behind Flynn with 127-81. Against the spread, I am at 109-95-4. Natale is 108-96-4. Flynn is 106-98-4. So we're all pretty good, pretty close with our straight up picks and our spread picks. So looking ahead to the matchups, we've given you the tail of the tape. Now we give you the tail of our picks starting on Thursday night. Chargers, Raiders. Raiders picked by 3. We all are in agreement to pick the Raiders to win and cover. I guess probably the most important factor there is the now absence for the season of Mr. Justin Herbert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that had no effect on my pick. I would have picked the Raiders anyway, even if Herbert was playing.
Yeah, so it's because I figured that the teams would split the season series before the season started.
Yeah, so we kind of have moderate scores for each of our picks for the Raiders game there. Then the Saturday games, Cincinnati home against Minnesota. Cincinnati picked at 3.5. We all agree that the Bengals will win and cover on that particular matchup. Steelers and Colts. Colts are picked by 2.5. Flynn and Natale picking the Colts to win and cover. I'm giving Mitchell Trubisky one last chance.
Oh.
I know. It sounds like I'm going to be. Sounds like I'm going to be digging for gold, but all I'm going to get is some copper or something. But yeah, call me crazy, but I just kind of makes me sad the way that the Steelers have been playing here lately. And if they miss the playoffs, it'll be the first time they've missed the playoffs under Mike Tomlin's command.
No, I know you talk about the under 500 seasons because Steelers missed the playoffs. Yeah,
right. So, and like I've said, I've got so much respect for Mike Tomlin and what he's done with that program. We have Detroit Lions home against the Broncos. Detroit 4.5 pick favorites. Natale and I are picking the Bryans to win and cover, but Flynn is sounding the alarm.
Yeah, bet the team. I'm picking when in doubt, pick the team with the better head coach and the better defense.
Aha. So he is the lone wolf for the Broncos over the Lions in that one. Falcons are picked by 3 at home. No, Falcons are picked by 3 on the road against Carolina.
Yep.
We all picked the Falcons to win and cover.
I forgot to say that I forgot my garbage game of the week, but this is my runner-up, so we could just call it garbage game of the week for this one.
Yeah, this is mine too.
Yeah, I guess we can agree with that. Cleveland at home. They're 3.5 point favorites against the visiting Bears. Natale and I are picking the Browns to win and cover. Actually, Flynn looks like he's taking the Bears.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Natale and I opposed on the spreads in 9 games this week.
Oof. Jeez.
Yeah, so there might be a lot of separation at the end.
Mm-hmm.
There could be. The Bay of Pigs game. Green Bay at home against Tampa Bay. Green Bay is picked by 3.5. Natale and I, once again, we're taking the Packers to win and cover. And once again, Flynn is taking the Bucks with points.
Mm-hmm.
A 1-point victory for the Packers on this one.
Yeah, I think like last week, I think this one's going to come down to the end. I think the Bucks with the defensive line, I think is going to cause some problems with Jordan Love, similar to how they did it in big time situations against the Falcons last week. And I think this one's going to be a competitive game.
Yeah, not bad at all. Miami is looking to bounce back this week. They got the Jets at home, picked it by 8.5. Again, Natale and I, we all in agreement that the Dolphins are going to win. And Flynn is again going with the visiting team to cover.
Yeah, I think Zach Wilson crazy. I think he's going to keep it close.
Yeah, call it crazy there. KC is on the road at New England at the big Razor Blade. Kansas City is picked by 9.5. We all are in agreement that KC will win and cover. This next game is my garbage game of the week. Well, actually, hold it. No, if I'm not mistaken, I don't really have a garbage game. It could have been Atlanta and Carolina, but we already did that one. So,
but we do know that this was Natale's lock of the week,
and I should mention this is my lock of the week as well.
Your lock of the week, you have Saints over the Giants as your lock.
Saints over Giants.
And I'm sounding the alarm again. Yep, I'm picking the Giants to win.
I think he's riding on that DeVito train. I think.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be one more week of DeVito insanity.
DeVito insanity.
Yeah, but also the only reason why I picked the Giants was because Brian Dable against Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen can't coach his way out of a paper bag right now.
Oh,
right. I can see that. All right, Tennessee at home, 2.5-point favorites against the visiting Texans. I'm taking the Texans to win and cover.
Yeah, the tally's taking the Texans to win outright. I should have put the yellow over this pick. But that's what I forgot to put. But anyway, you both of you have the Texans winning. I have the Titans winning.
Okay, kind of get off in that the momentum they had in that victory last night against the Dolphins, I suppose. So
yeah, and I think C.J. Stroud starting to come back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah, starting to come back down to earth, and I mean I know Mike Vrabel has not had probably one of the best years of his coaching career, but I respect the guy. I mean,
yeah.
So
remember, he took the Titans to Championship Sunday a few years ago.
He sure did. He sure did. Niners and Cardinals. We all agree that the Niners will win this one. They are 13.5-point favorites at Arizona. We all say Niners will win, but Natale says the Cardinals will cover.
Yeah, and also and the 49ers, this is my highest of my largest point differential of the week. So that, Tim McClelland, is my lock of the week.
There you go. Locking up them Niners. Rams are at home against the Commanders. Rams are 6.5-point favorites. We are all taking the Rams to win, but I'm actually taking the Commanders to cover. I think Sam Howell might get maybe garbage time touchdown to kind of get it close. I say so. I'm taking the Rams to win, but I'm taking the Commanders to cover on that one. Cowboys at Bills. Bills are 2.5-point favorites at home. I'm taking the Cowboys to win. Natalia's taking the Cowboys to win, but the Bills to cover.
Actually, he's got the Cowboys and covering because the yellow is the underdog covering.
Oh yeah, the underdog covering. Okay. And we see Flynn is actually taking the Bills.
Yeah,
I could see that.
I think the Bills are playing their best football of the season right now, and I think now that they had two tough games on the road against Philadelphia and Kansas City. The last time they were home was against the Jets, and they beat them by 26 points. So I think being in Buffalo, I think the weather's going to be a factor, as we mentioned, with the wind and how Brandon Aubrey might miss his first field goal attempt of the season.
I still think the Buffalo Bills got lucky because of that offsides offense call on Kadarius Toney. If it wasn't for that, then the Chiefs probably would have won that game, and we'd probably be talking a different conversation right now.
Yeah, we'd be talking about Kansas City and how they're going to be the 1 seed because of their schedule.
Yeah. Oh, we got Ravens. Ravens at Jaguars. Baltimore comes in to Jacksonville, 3.5-point favorites. Natalia and I are taking the Ravens to win the cover. Oh, I think we have to sound the alarm again for Mr. Flynn.
The upset special number 3.
Ooh. Interesting. And if you think all these upset specials were crazy, everybody take a look at the Monday night game, because like I said, the way that these teams have been trending, the Eagles have been exposed. The Seahawks, even though they've lost a couple of games, they are showing some tenacity. So, and Philly is picked about 3.5 at Seattle. But with the trend these teams are going, all three of us, this is my upset special of the week. It's John's upset special of the week. And Flynn, you're making it. So just for all three of us, one more time.
Yeah.
4 upset specials this week for me.
And Seattle being home helps a bit too here.
Yeah, and also another thing too, Pete Carroll on prime time is pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty darn good. Used to play a lot of primetime games when he was at USC.
Yeah, I was actually watching the because I was watching the Football Life documentary on YouTube about the Rose Bowl against Texas.
Oh yeah, remember that one?
Yeah. Has there been a finer college football game, in your opinion, than the one that night between Vince Young's Texas Longhorns and Matt Leinert's USC?
I don't think I've seen a better one. I don't think so. I mean, probably not after, or maybe back in. Can't remember what it is. It was a game between Missouri and Oklahoma, where Missouri at home beat Oklahoma for the first time in 13 years, and the quarterback for Missouri was Chase Daniel. Can't remember who the quarterback for Oklahoma was at the time, but that was a very interesting game here. And speaking of documentaries, ESPN just released a 30 for 30 documentary on one of the greatest defensive players there ever was. He was a rough and tough man. He was a big man, but his heart was even bigger. It's 30 for 30, Minister of Defense. Talking about the late, great Reggie White. That is my recommended viewing. Recommended viewing for all you great fans who loved Reggie White, the way he would strike fear in the hearts of that offensive lines that he was facing. Great player, great guy. Passed away way too soon. But I love the guy, have much respect for him. Recommended viewing 30 for 30, Minister of Defense. So before we wrap up this show, we've got a little unfinished business, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
We still have Flynn's tough trivia.
Oh,
so
yep.
The question once again was, in the last 5 weeks, who has rushed for the second most yards in the league? Now, number one is Run CMC, Christian McCaffrey, with
525.
525 yards in the last 5 weeks. That is like unfriggin' believable. So the question is, who is number 2?
Yeah.
Natale, do you have any idea?
Yeah, I had a couple of players in mind. I initially thought Kyler Williams, but I know it can't be him because he was out a couple weeks. So I can't say that because he missed. There was games where he missed during that span, so that cancels him out. But unless we're counting physical games played, or are we factoring in bye weeks too, or no? Or are we just going by last 5 games in general?
Last 5 weeks, weeks 10 through 14.
Oh, okay, yeah, there we go. So yeah, my theory then could be right then, because it can't be Kyron Williams now because he missed time, so that ruled him out. So now I'm torn between 2 players. I hope one of them is right. I'm between Saquon Barkley and Raheem Mostert, and I'm trying to think who had more yards between them during those last 5 weeks. And I think Raheem Mostert might have had a few more yards, so I'm going to go with him. He's going to be my guess.
All right, Tim, what do you think?
I'm actually going with Saquon Barkley.
So you're going with Saquon Barkley, Tim, and John Natale is going with Raheem Mostert. So
yes.
So the one closer to the actual number was actually Natale with Raheem Mostert, but he was wrong.
Oh,
the answer is David Montgomery.
Ooh.
Yeah.
David Montgomery
of the Detroit Lions. With 385 rushing yards for weeks 10
Oh my
through
gosh,
14.
385, not even close to run CMC. Wow.
Yeah, not even close. With 140 yards between Christian McCaffrey and the second most in the last 5 weeks. So
let's see where Mostert is at 7.
With 319. Kyron Williams only played 3 games, but he still got 345.
And Barkley's down there.
Yeah. At 281.
281. Wow.
Because Saquon had that clunker against the Patriots in week 12.
Right. Oh my gosh. David Montgomery. Tell you what.
Yeah.
So I guess if you got David Montgomery on your fantasy rosters, wait a minute, we got the Lions. Lions are at home against the Broncos. Yeah, that Denver defense may cause a little bit of problems for Montgomery, but
yeah. But actually, Jahmyr Gibbs has been getting more touches because if you look at the targets in terms of receptions, David Montgomery has 6 catches on 8 targets, while Jahmyr Gibbs has 17 receptions on 25 targets.
Wow.
And Jahmyr Gibbs has as many touchdowns as David Montgomery in terms of rushing. So, and I think also to note, Jalen Warren has taken over for the Steelers as their bellwether over Najee Harris.
Seems like Najee is kind of falling off the radar a little bit.
Yeah, also notables: Rashad White at number 4, Tony Pollard at number 7, Mostert at 8, Saquon was number 15.
Wow.
So
525 Chris McCaffrey. No wonder he's in the mix for MVP.
Yeah.
Amazing. Totally amazing. Well,
okay.
And I guess with that being said, we can go ahead and wrap up this edition of Fantasy Football Fever. And like I said, many of us, including us here in our league, we're starting our playoffs this week. Many of you are too. So go ahead and play it one more time. Play it one more time. Play Jim Moore one more time.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
And most notably, ladies and gentlemen, but this is you got to play for glory, and you got to play for success, and you got to play to win, right?
Hello, you play to win the game.
That's what it's about when it comes to the playoffs.
Playoffs.
Look at that shit-eating grin on his face. I love you guys. Well, that's it for our show. Hey, don't forget, tomorrow night, tune in to the Four Horsemen Pick'em show because I'm trying to get those directions here. Yes, here we go. These two hooligans are going to be joining us tomorrow on Four Horsemen Pick'ems. It is going to be probably one of the best shows that I think we've ever done.
Yeah.
I know Alex is ready. I know Lucas is ready. I'm ready.
I'm so fired up for this one.
Because Flynn's been on the show. He was on the show last year. Natale will be on our show for the first time tomorrow night. So very interesting. YouTube.com/apizzle90, APIZZLE90. Tune in tomorrow, 4 Horsemen Pick'ems. We're going to be there. And hopefully all of you will join us. And of course, we hope you'll join us next week for our before Christmas week shows. I'm going to be sporting my Dallas Cowboy ugly Christmas sweater. I got my scarf somewhere. I got the tree set up here. In fact, before we go, I want to show you this tree.
Oh,
I got this tree a couple of years ago.
Are you gonna move the camera?
Yeah, well, I can kind of bring it over here to you. It's only like a.
Here we go, the grand tour.
I have a grand tour of my room. My room looks like garbage right now, so you'll have to excuse the mess. But yeah, let me get this tree that I got here, and I found very appropriate ornaments to go on top of it with a very appropriate tree topper. Let me bring this up very carefully. I am in the Christmas spirit.
The Cowboys.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes, very nice. Very nice. And you notice the tree topper right here.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys helmet right there. Got all these ornaments here with the Cowboys helmet, Cowboys logo, the blue and silver candy canes on it. I made this myself 2 years ago. It is one of my greatest projects I've ever done. I'm never taking any of this stuff off of here for as long as I live because I think it's so beautiful. So I'm just giddy at this time of year. I guess everyone is. So, but anywho, I'll put this back over here for now. Uh-oh.
I don't drop anything.
Yeah, I had the stand just sitting on top of my wire here. But anyway, I'm in the spirit. Playoff time. Playoff time in fantasy. It's almost playoff time in the NFL. So it's a very exciting time for us. I hope it is for you too. Remember, tomorrow night, we're on 4 Horsemen Pick'em, so we'll be here next week. Christmas show. It's going to be wonderful. Any party words, guys?
Man, definitely looking forward to this. It's down to the wire. Pretty soon, we're gonna find out who our champ is gonna be.
Yes, so it's 12:49 a.m. on the East Coast. So all I can say is I'll see you later tonight. Oh, hold on. Before we're about to sign off, look who it is.
Okay. Just popped in.
Hey, Adam.
Hey.
Long day?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And I'm like one of the players in.
Yeah. Yeah, 4 of our, oddly enough, the 4 people in this room are the top 4 seeds. Flynn being 1, Tim being 2, me being 3, Adam being 4.
Yeah, and
that tiebreaker is. That tiebreakers.
Yeah.
Crazy, because I think I got the most points out of.
Yep.
Out of Lucas and Daniel.
And Dino, yep.
Yeah, we were just about to put a bow on this show before you showed up. We pretty much got all the bases covered and everything, but I mean it's good to see you though.
Yeah.
You look very tired, my friend.
Yeah, and I
yeah.
Yeah, and I know what you guys were probably saying that. I know what you guys were saying after the win on Sunday night, which I didn't play yet, and that was.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Absolutely. We love taking down those chickens. Now we're gonna be taking on those buffaloes.
Yeah, that's gonna be a pretty. I think I sense a back and forth game.
Yeah, and what's also back and forth is your matchup in against Lucas. Because I mean, the one thing I was commenting on before, Adam, how so evenly matched your matchup is, because Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson's like 26-24. Your running backs are 13 apiece, basically 13 apiece at RB2, 16 apiece at RB1. One of your wide receivers 15, 16 for each. Tight ends around 9.5 for each. The flex a little bit for Lucas, but defensive players 11 each. Defense, special teams 10 each, and kickers. And actually, Brandon Aubrey and Jake Elliott, the top two kickers in fantasy for this week, are in this matchup. So what are you thinking, Adam?
Well, it is gonna be a pretty close game, and I believe I have done so far in regular season. I was shut out. I was shut out or swept by Lucas in regular season.
Yeah.
And whoever wins this game will play Flynn in the semis.
Yeah.
And then if Tim beats then if Natale beats Dino, the winner of this matchup will play Tim.
Yeah, right now I have a massive edge.
Yeah, because he's got Christian McCaffrey and Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think it's starting to get a little late here, so I think this might be a good time Tim to sign off.
Go ahead and close up shop. Yeah, we had a great show, full show, over 2 hours. I mean, what more can you ask for? I mean, I'm so full of information here. I know you people are too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to think one thing.
Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be taking a couple of Tylenol right now and just hitting the sack myself. So, let's all get out of here.
And rest up for the next night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, rest up for the Horseman show, which we'll be a part of tomorrow. So that's it, y'all. Get ready to hit the outro here. Thanks for watching, everybody. For Adam Oliver, for John Natale, for John Flynn, I'm Tim McClelland. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Enjoy the games. God bless everyone. And as always, be a good sport. See ya.